Welcome to the Fantasy Take TV podcast, first episode for 2022. Super excited, all these new rules to discuss. So on the agenda today, we'll discuss these new rules, how they impact our team. We'll also discuss the ownership stats have come out. Few surprises, some of these picks, maybe they influence a little bit how we pick, probably not, but they do. You might worry, if players high ownership, might worry about that. So look at the ownership, and we'll also go through some community questions. So can't wait for this episode. And joining us as always, JD, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. What about yourself, George? It's pretty rough 24 hours, huh?
Oh, for sport anyway. Stayed up to watch Medvedev choke, and then the Chiefs in the NFL choke just as bad. If you follow the tennis or NFL, pretty big weekend. Not great. As soon as the NFL ended, I was now we're just waiting for AFL. I've had enough of other sports. Anyway, Enno, how you going?
George, how are you, mate? We into Cromland now? Is that where the head's at for the next 6 months?
Supercoach land, Cromland.
Supercoach really.
I don't care about other sports for 6 months, to be honest, but we'll see how we go. But huge episode today. The changes, massive news for Supercoach. So there are probably 3 or 4 major changes here. So first of all, we have 35 trades now instead of 30. A bit of an increase. We have trade boosts. So 5 times through the year, we can activate an extra trade. And also the mid-season DPPs. So with the mid-season DPPs, if a player plays a different position in the first 6 weeks, then they might get that status. Depending on how much they play, I think it needs to be 35%. They will be granted dual position. So that'll happen in round 6, 12, and 18. So we've gone over what we think of these changes in our own videos, but we'll discuss basically 2 questions, like how they impact our team and how they change strategy. So first we'll start off with, have these rules impacted your starting team? When Supercoach opened, you saw these rules. Did you make adjustments to your team? Start off with JD. What do you think?
So I think not for me. I'm probably one of the more conservative ones. I had a look at the AFL fantasy stats last year and had a look at how many actually swapped into a forward or defensive position that were relevant for our Supercoach sides, and I could really only see a couple. So I know a lot of people are going very thin on the forward line, thinking that we're going to get like Bontempelli and Fife and Danger and all these other great options potentially in our forward line, but I just don't see that being the case. I think we might get 1 or 2. So I'm trying not to overreact to this news, which is what we tend to do as Supercoaches when it comes to rule changes. We overreact. So for me, steady as she goes.
I was the opposite. Initially, I overreacted. I released my team. I took Heaney out, who's been in my team all preseason. I had just Dunkley F1. I think I had Cogs F2, something stupid like that. But now, as we looked back at last year, not really many players got forward status that were relevant. I mean, there was a few. Josh Kelly. Don't know how that happened, and then Sean Darcy was coming from injury in the preseason. So those were two of the main ones, or just about the only ones really. So not going to overreact, and it will be a bit of luck with the forward line who gets forward status. So for me, I've put Isaac back in. I'm happy to run 2 at the moment, Dunkley and Heaney at F2. What about you, Enno? Any changes for you upon the new rules announcement?
No, I'm much like JD, that none of it actually changed my physical team. But it's more pretty much the main thing what he said with the forwards. Like, I'm not going to overreact and think we're going to get 4 or 5, but there will be a couple, I would assume, that may become relevant, but that's not going to change. I'm not going to start Butters or Heaney because we might get, 5 for Dangerfield. If they're good picks, they're good picks. And obviously, we always say it, the starting team is dictated by rookies. So that's the main thing down the line. I don't think any of the changes change the team, but the strategy definitely will change, which we'll speak about in a second. That's definitely more part of what they actually did, is change my thinking towards how we're going to deal with these changes during the year. So it didn't change the team, but definitely it's a big thing for the strategy.
Yeah, I think it's important. So this is going to affect the forward line more than other lines for sure. So what do we think? We saw, DeGoey, Butters, all these 450k forwards. Maybe start with you, JD. Are you less inclined to start these players now? I'm not saying, like, I don't know if you were or you weren't going to start these players, but with given we might get a few forwards, are you like less interested in these players or just still the same, whatever level of interest you already had in these players?
So I think the only thing it really changes is that the 1 or 2 forward premiums, or maybe even 3, I think like that's probably the max that you start, you have to be sure they're going to be top 6, factoring in that we might get 2 or 3 from the midfield as well. So you only want to start like your top forward options. You don't want to pick the guys that are just going to limp in. And so that's probably the only thing that's really changed my thinking when it comes to those selections. Just making sure that the 2 or 3 that I do start are the ones I really believe are going to be a top 6 forward, regardless of the changes.
Yeah, pretty much agree with that. I'm thinking max 3. Even 3 feels a little dicey, to be honest. I think there was an article today coming out where Leon said, we can use Toronto up forward. So that's a bit of a worry as well. So, I think we can leave it at that. Move on to the next question, which is, how do these changes alter your season strategy? Now 35 trades, DPPs, we go on a little bit more towards mid prices, just more durability risks, a few questions we have to answer. Anno, how do you think these changes are going to go for your team? We'll start off with the trade boosts. How do you think you'll use the trade boosts?
Yeah. I'll put the trades to the side. Like I think it's been said, we had 34 last year, so that's pretty much the same. The boosts are definitely interesting. You don't want to plan when you're exactly going to use them because obviously every team's going to be different. I think that's the main thing that's cool is we'll get a lot more uniqueness with DPP and then trade boosts and what weeks people use them specifically in accordance to their team. Might get an injury, but others don't. So, I think the main thing is like round 3. Say you miss a good mid-pricer and a good rookie, and also one of your primos get injured. Perfect opportunity to use it then. And then, as I think you've said before, in upgrade season, using 3, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks in advance, trying to get all that cash banked and upgrade as quick as you can to maximize points. So, a couple of strategies there. Who knows what's going to work? It's the first season of it. That's the interesting part, and every season is different anyway with players that become available and rookies and whatnot. So, I think the boost. I like it. It's a cool idea. I think it's cool. It's something fresh to think about. New strategy is always good. So, I'm happy or excited to talk about it during the year on what we should do. So, I like it.
So do you think you'll use these boosts more offensively rather than for COVID outs?
It's so hard to speak on COVID at this point, really.
That's true.
They're just. I think they're deciding now. I saw more in the next few days as to what plans they'll put in place. But because obviously WA border is a big one too, so we don't know what's happening there. We'll probably have to speak about that later, but you probably always want to save 1 or 2 for just big carnage weeks anyway, when 3 massive owned players go down or something stupid happens. So you always probably want to keep 1 or 2 up your sleeve, but I don't hate the idea of using them very aggressively to sort of maximise the points. So, I do see that being a good tactic.
Yeah, I can't see myself using it for that, right? Because we don't normally sideways premiums for a 2-week injury. And COVID outs are like 2 weeks capped. So I just can't see myself using for any of that. I think the best uses are probably the one that you put in at NO, which is like you're on that round 2 bubble and you might need to have 3 trade corrections. Like that's fine. I think the other one that's interesting is during upgrade season. Obviously the big problem with like injury prone players is if they go down during that upgrade cadence, then it like puts you a week behind everyone else. So you can kind of boost to kind of stay up with everyone else, but still sideways out your premium. But I think George is right. I think the winning strategy this year is going to be, you'll see like the people that win use like 3 or 4 offensively and then maybe reserve 1 or 2 for the buys. That'd be my best guess of what happens this year.
Yeah, the buys is the last one. George, what's your thoughts on? Because you can use, if you use them then, you can use 4 trades in 1 round. Would you be bothering to sideways primos or what do you think?
I think maybe 1 in the last round. But yeah, in terms of using these boosts, I don't want to use any in the first 6 rounds, not even 1. I think just because they will help us generate, because they're not really, I guess maybe it's helping you generate money early if you miss out on certain players, but I want to use these so I can downgrade 2 rookies at once, if that makes sense. So I want to use them between, say, round 6 or 7 and the bye rounds, and then save 1 or 2 for the bye rounds. I don't know if I'll save 1 after the buys. We don't really know how things are going to go. And as you said, JD, with the COVID outs, it's you just hopefully hold. I heard Rob today say that they're 10-day outs if you have COVID. I think that's
It'll be
1
2
week.
games.
1 week.
okay then. Okay, that's fine. So
Like it depends on when you get pinged, right?
Yeah,
It could
of
be 2,
course.
it could be 1.
yeah, true. So see how that goes. But yeah, I see myself using them offensively, but I don't want to use them too early. So yeah, I think they'll be good. But yeah, just upgrade the team, make plenty of money. So move on to.
Do you like them? Quickly, do you like them in general? Do you think it's too many? Maybe like 3's maybe enough, or what do you think?
This year
No?
I have no.
You don't
This
know.
year I have no issue. Next year, it's gonna be tough because people, when you give people something, you don't really want to take it away from them. So
Yeah.
see what happens next year. Worry about that next year. It's still January 31st when we're doing this. So see how that goes. But I think it's okay. Okay, I think we can move straight into the ownership of players because we got a lot of players to discuss here. We'll start off with the defenders, and I'll read these ownership numbers out. So Lloyd 44, Whitfield 42, Sicily 32, Crisp 24, Hull 18, and Short 8%. So those are the main premiums. Anything's... Yes, they're probably the main ones that stood out. Anything surprises you here? Anything that's got you thinking, oh, maybe I'm a bit worried if I don't have a certain player? Like, what sticks out to you from this defender ownership list?
Yeah, this obviously we're probably looking at the same, probably 2, I'd say, or maybe 3. Like Whitfield is pretty high for someone that does get slated quite a bit for his history. I'm surprised he's up just basically right with Lloyd, because a lot of people do feel like they've been burned in the past with him, which I guess is true to an extent. But probably Sicily 32% is higher than I thought, although I guess he is a bit of a favourite too, and he's obviously discounted, of course, while not being massively discounted. It is a bit. You got anything to say on that, Jules?
Oh, it's interesting. I think we can start off with Whitfield. This is because look, I played AFL Fantasy last year, and he was in, out, in, out. So I looked at the name when I put him in my team. I was like, do I really want to do this again? Because he's pretty damn frail. But you just see the numbers. Like he scored a 190 a few years ago in the opening round. So do we have to pick Whitfield? JD, what do you think?
I think you do. He's the only defender that hasn't left my side this preseason. I think he's a great choice. We talk about this time and time again, but the injury types that he's had aren't soft tissue. They're a mismatch of unlucky injuries.
But it keeps happening, JD.
It does keep happening. And so this is a really interesting thing. Is he just brittle? Or is he just been incredibly unlucky and things will kind of turn around? And that's really hard to say, but I would rather be on the side of things will turn around and ride him than be the person sitting on the sideline that missed out.
You're the same, Enno?
Yeah, I'd take that in 100%. Price, main thing, 500k is a lot, 80k cheaper than Lloyd and 70k than Hall. And we've got, I don't want to say it every time we pick someone that's a bit risky. We do have the outs if he is one to get injured in the early parts of the season. So I'm totally okay with starting him with the upside he presents.
I will say the thing that I'm surprised with is that his ownership is so high with Sicily. So the thing that I don't get is picking them together. And I assume if their percentages are that high, then there are a lot of people that are picking both of them in their side. And that to me is the thing that I can't get on board with. But yeah, what do you think, George?
Oh, I feel like I have to pick him because of his price. It's problems if you don't pick him, but it's also potentially problems if you do. So I think I'd be rather on the side that he should make money. What I will say is watching him last year, I don't know if it was because he had limited preseason, but his kicking was quite bad, I thought, last year. Uncharacteristically. So I don't know if that carries on. But give him a full preseason, he should tear it up. I don't see why he can't. So I think he went 92 in 2021, but there was an injury game in there where he got concussed. So probably would have been high 90s or something like that. So give him a full preseason. It's a scary prospect to go without him. So I just pick him with a full preseason, and then I'm pretty confident that if he does get injured, we'll sell him at a higher price, which isn't ideal, but still trying to play the percentages here, I guess. I guess it depends how much of an injury risk you see him as. But yeah, Sicily as well. This is an interesting one because he said that he's lifted his training standards, which means you saw what happened when Petrarca and Wines lifted their training standards. So it's a tough one, but there's also issues with like the role. So is he going to be freed up all the time? How much point sharing is there? So for the first time, yeah, I think 18 months will be okay though, probably. But yeah, it's an interesting one because I wasn't considering him, and then I saw 30% or 33%, and then I thought, okay. JD disagrees. What do you reckon?
I will never pick or not pick someone because of ownership percentage, especially in my preseason team. So the fact that I didn't want to start him, right, because I don't think he's a good pick, and then 32% of people are starting him because I think he's a good pick, is a delight to me, because like he's someone that I think I'm going to get a like instant advantage over the competition by not owning.
But what if he turns out good and they have a 30% of the comp have a 440k primo and we are 100k down?
Well, that would be horrific, but I'm backing myself in to make a better decision than them.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I'm happy. It's one I'm happy to take on. Midfield's not one I'm happy to take on. That's just the way I see it. And the point you had with both of them being up there is, yeah, it is. You're taking a big risk taking both of them on at the same time. Is the way I see it. So. Yeah, happy to roll with Wid over him for. It's not even 50k more, is it? Like it's
60k, something like that.
Yeah.
See how he goes. See how many kickouts he gets, because I still think he's probably the main kickout guy there. So probably the other one that's here. His hole is 17%. That's too low.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I thought that would be like 35%. So maybe it's because he's age, less proven, plays for North or whatever. So I think I wouldn't bet against Hull, to be honest. You guys the same?
Unless I see something change in a month's time, I think he's got one more year of that role until they try and mould some kids to do similar things. You know, you obviously don't want blokes like him and Deeble doing that for the next 2 or 3 years. You want to get someone with a bit of youth on their side doing that, but I still think he's got one more year of doing that, unless it obviously changes pre-season, but I don't see it happening. He was really, really good, like really impressive. So I don't see why he would change that.
Yeah, if you're trying to look for reasons to not start Hall, the only one I can think of is that North's game plan last year was to stem the bleeding. It wasn't really to win games. At least I felt like with that much kick to kick in the back half. And I just wonder, like, at some point, will Noble kind of transition them away from that type of game plan or game style, which would then inevitably hurt Hall scoring? That's really the only other thing I can point to, apart from the obvious stuff around like age and injury history and that type of stuff. But if it's, you know, steady on as it was last year, then he should be a great option.
Yeah, good point. So just quickly, 2 mid prices. So Miller are 17%, and how is Will Day on 14% ownership?
It's preseason. It's preseason. People like a bit of mid-price madness, you know, in their teams at this point in the year, and then hopefully they learn the error of their ways and ditch them later on, because these are bad picks. They're just bad picks.
I think there's a world where Miller works. I don't want to bet on that. He's very unreliable in multiple ways. Confidence, role, durability, obviously. So happy to skip these players. I think it's interesting if Miller can tick a few boxes, I can see why someone would want to pick him. I am under no circumstances picking him. But yeah, and Will Day, he's not even going to have a half-back role, I think. It sounds like he's playing wing. Even like Bramble's a half-back. Sounds like he's going to have to move to a wing. So not much else to discuss there, really. Move on to the midfielders. So we'll start with the midfield premiums. Lockie Neal, 51%. Steele, is that 56? It's 46, sorry. Yeah. McRae, 42%. Clary, 38%. Walsh, 33%. Took, 16%. Tom Mitchell, 16%. I'll start here. So Neal, 51%, probably expected. Walsh, 33%, surprised me a bit. First reaction was, must be a lot of Carlton supporters, but I think everyone loves Walsh anyway, so understandable. Over Took, I don't know about that. Anything stand out for you here, JD? I think it's very much your 1A, 1Bs, 1C sort of picks, but what do you think?
I'm a little bit surprised that Took's as low as he is, and just like the amount, how high the ownership is. It feels like most teams must be batting like probably 5 deep in the midfield, which is also a little bit surprising. I'd say that's probably it. And not only that, but they're paying up. Like, these are the big names that are all pretty much top end of price apart from Neal, and they're all really heavily selected. So that's probably the surprising part for me. I guess the other thing that's somewhat interesting is because options like Neal, Steele, and McRae as like a really common combination, I think most of the Discord would be running these three together. It feels like the midfield isn't where you're going to get your advantage this year. It's going to be in other places.
Yeah, I think 4 versus 5 mids will be an interesting discussion point. Yeah, that's going to depend on what sort of rookies we get. I really want to run 5, to be honest. I'm having a hard time dropping any of my 5 mids currently, but I think I'll have to see how the strength of the rookies and then decide there. But yeah, what do you think? Anything stand out for you here, Anno?
Yeah, for me it was first Walsh being that. I thought he'd be maybe 20s, and then Took and Titch probably both being a bit low considering how well they finished the year. I mean, you could even throw Bont and Track down at 10%. I think they're just about, Bont had an unbelievable run as M1 for, almost 2/3 of the year. And Track had a great run for half a year as well. So we're spoiled for choice. It's just stupid how many good players there are in the midfield and how many good scorers there are. So I'm not surprised by the top 4, but yeah, I know you say it's probably, or JD says it's probably not where you're going to get your advantage, but your M4, M5, or I know Neal's going to be M5, but probably 3 and 4 is probably going to be the unique parts, I would say, or at least one. So you just don't want to. You want to avoid the guy that has the down year, because there's always going to be one. So that's the key.
I think one place where we can get an advantage is probably M6, M7, M8. Okay, one of them's going to be Dacos, or like right now, one of them will be Dacos. And who are your other two? So, or probably Greg Clark as well. But who's the other slot? So, a few names here. So Dacos, 62%, most owned in the game. Horn Francis, 52%. Matt Rowell, 25%. That's huge. Jared Berry, 10%, and then thrown in Finn McRae, 7%. It's also don't have him here, but like Warden, Erasmus, I think will make their way into a few teams as well, as we see them in pre-season. Horn Francis, 52%. How do you fit him in? Like, I'm running Finn McRae at the moment, so I don't know how I can fit Horn Francis in.
Well, most people aren't running Finn McRae, so I'd say that's where the substitution is.
Did you just read the same percentages? One's 50, one's 7, so I have Horn Francis, yeah.
Has him being a forward, it seems like he'll be a forward in 6 weeks in the season. Has that affected it at all?
Maybe, but to be honest, he's a number 1 pick, It's not like he's, 50% of the comp has the number 1 pick, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason he was the number 1 pick. Dominated, not NAB League, senior footy. Obviously, the role is where everyone's question mark's going to land. North have a few mids, picked up a few mids or in the off season, so that's where everyone's questioning it. But I still think he can average 70 something in the forward line with his impact that he has. He's a super coach kind of player, as far as I'm aware. With the stuff he does, tackling, big plays, what that sort of stuff does for super coach scoring. So obviously want to see the role. More mid time would be awesome, but for I just have more trust in a number one pick like him over Finn McRae, who didn't show too much really last year. I know he's had a good off season and he's bulking up, whatever you want to start talking about him. But yeah, I just have more trust in a guy like that over Finn McRae.
Oh,
Do you,
you should have seen the look in George's eyes.
I didn't want to lie.
well, it's a hard choice because there'll be Ward, Erasmus, all these players. This 200k slot, maybe you run two of them
Well, might
with
pay off,
Dacos.
yeah.
If at M5, I'm assuming Greg Clark's M8. So, well, yeah, it's going to be a tough call. Really tough. Because Horn Francis 52%. That had me worried because I'm like, maybe I need to get him in. I don't know. I know you say JD ownership shouldn't affect whether you pick a player or not, but when it's this high, it does have me worried. What if I don't have him? But do you have Horn Francis at the moment, JD?
No, that's a bum pick too. I honestly think it's a bum pick. If you're doing proper Supercoach research and you played the game before, I genuinely think it's a bum pick. He's going to play half forward in a bottom 4 to 6 side, realistically, and we're just talking about how their game plan is kicking around the back half. What part of that says he's going to score well? It doesn't matter that he played well against men. He played well against men in a team that scored, and he got midfield time. He's getting none of that this year, and he's 207k. So if it's not him, or like say McRae doesn't come up good either, I'm still looking at different options like a Ward or a Hobbs or a Erasmus. Like all of these seem like they're going to get the mid roll and they're a better price and they'll make more money. Like I just can't get the pick. The only other argument I've heard is like, yeah, but he might be a forward in round 6, and that's great. I still wouldn't pay 210k for him in the forward line either. I don't think it's a good pick. It's a bum pick.
That's a big call. Disrespectful call.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he won't be good in Supercoach one day. I'm just saying if it's like 70% half forward role, that is not going to give you return 207k. If that changes and it's more like 50-50 in the preseason, then of course I'm going to look at him more seriously as an option. But as it stands, I can't see it being a good pick at the moment. There's so many better options.
We need to see him play in the Amy series. That one precious game we'll get. It's a tough one. It's hard to get a read on all these draftees and 200k players. So we'll see how that works out. I'm interested in him still. I'm taking him over Ward. He's played a lot more games than Ward, and he's better than Ward, but might not have as good of a role. But it's we'll have time to figure this out. So yeah, very highly owned. But it's not gonna.
Which doesn't surprise me. At the end of the day, that question doesn't surprise me. Why he has 50%? Put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to the forward line.
Wait.
Oh, we forgot to mention Matt Rowell.
Yes, thank you. You're gonna
Sorry.
make Horn Francis, but you're gonna skip over Rowell, please.
Okay, Matthew Rowell.
What?
Matthew Rowell's tearing up preseason apparently. JD, is he in your team at the moment?
Unfortunately not. I've topped him out for another secret tech defender that we didn't talk about, that you also are looking at, George.
We're looking at ownership. Okay.
I have, yeah, and they're low ownership players. But yeah, Rowell is one that I have played with a couple of times in my preseason. His skill cap and his skill level is phenomenal, not just for AFL but for Supercoach. And if he's getting back to 90% of that, he's easily going 100 plus this year. Easily going 100 plus. And at that price, that makes him a very, very, very good option. So there's so many people just dismiss, like you got these smirks, you're looking away, like, oh, where do I look?
100 average.
Like, oh, I better look at the run sheet. What's next? You can't see Rowell going 100 average.
No. He was bad last year.
He was bad last year. He was coming off his shoulder and the PCL back-to-back, and they managed him with game time. Like, he was playing 70% game time a lot of these games. But he's found that explosiveness. He's going to be back to his best. We're going to see original OG Rowell, the sunscreen face, the book studier, the 9 Brownlow votes Rowell. That's who we're going to see this year. 100 plus. Write it down.
It feels like a dream that I had 3 years ago. I can't even remember that happening.
All right, I'm taking Dylan Shiel over Matt Rowell. Shiel has 7 years straight of 89 plus average and he's tearing up the preseason.
He actually
At least
has been one
he
of the
can score.
standouts. Well, I'd take a head-to-head bet. I'd take Rowell over Shiel.
Okay, what are we betting over? You have to do
can-
something. You have to wear that stupid shirt again. By halfway through the year.
Yeah,
And then I'll wear the worst shirt I have. I have some shockers, so I'll give you some options.
Yeah, I think they're a football team. There's a jersey that you wear. That's pretty bad, but you pick a different one. That's all right.
All right, we'll settle that. Rowell versus Shiel. Halfway through the year, we'll see how that goes.
I guess that's the real debate. The big primos aren't. It's the mid prices and rookies this year,
Yeah.
really.
Forward line, Joshua Dunkley, 51%. Duncan, 29. Butters, 25. Dusty, 24. Tim Taranto, 20%. Goey, 12%. Isaac, 8%. Taron Thomas, 6%. I think I can start on this one. So Duncan's quite high. Definitely a good scorer, 29%. How can you... Okay, the hypocrisy of a Heaney owner saying this, but his durability with the calf issues, hamstring issues, knee issues over the past 2 years. 30 years old. That's the biggest red flag I've seen in my life. I can't see a world where I start him. Maybe bring him in after the buys, where I don't need him for 22 games, need him for 8 games or whatever. Thought that was a little high. Heaney way too low, 8%, disrespectful. But I think people have been through the motions with him, so all the long-term players are sick of that pick. Butters 25 is probably about where I thought. Butters is a really tough one to get a read on. I'm still uncertain on Butters, and I'm kind of relying on what other people say about him, to be honest. But what we saw in the preseason last year, in the opening rounds, plus he should have increased mid-time this year. Pretty exciting stuff. So I think they need him in the midfield, need his ball use and pressure in the midfield. So, Eno, anything stand out for you in the forward line?
I think you've said it.
Okay.
Pretty much the ones that do stand out. Duncan, yeah, go for it.
So below Dunkley, aside from him, which one is in your team out of these players?
It is Butters. It is Butters. But I share the same sentiments. I'm not as confident on him as others are. And that's not because of DPP. That's just because I'm not, just set that he's going to average, triple figures or close to it. But at the price, it does seem like an enticing starting pick. And obviously, besides De Goey, at the same price, if he gets the same role, I think he's the best. But at this stage, until we see that, I think he's the better of himself and Heaney. So, but man, it's tough. At this point, it's tough without seeing anything. But it doesn't surprise me. His ownership, the one below him, does a little bit. I know he's, him. Dusty, Danger, Fife are always the ones that you just probably lock in for 25% ownership because it's who they are. But Dusty being 24% is quite high for someone that people probably are off as a pick for the rest of his career now. So maybe they're autofield teams. I don't know. But it is pretty high. So that's probably one that does surprise me.
JD, what are you thinking? Who's your F2 at the moment?
I have an F2 and an F3, so I have both Heaney and Butters. Let's bring them together. Let's have a party. I would say the most surprising thing by far is that Dunkley is only 51%. Like, he is the only good option in the forward line. And by good, I mean, like, that is a lock, throw away the key, easiest choice there is. So for only 51%, it's crazy. Just kind of shows that maybe we're only playing against, 51% of the competition this year, 49% throwing in joker entries. Of what's left, I think, like Duncan, Dusty, Taranto all seem bad options to me. I wouldn't consider any of those as good starting picks. I guess the only good thing you could say about Taranto, for example, is that he's durable, but his role looks shot this year. I think of Heaney and Butters, I actually probably prefer Heaney at the moment. Yes, he had a bad 2020, but outside of that, he has been largely pretty durable. And Horse said Mills was going in the midfield last year, and he went in the midfield and he scored well. So why wouldn't we believe that he'd do the same with Heaney this year? I think Butters probably has more upside than Heaney if he gets the role. And the only thing I'm, I guess, a little bit unsure about is that the Achilles injury is like a career killer. And he had a particularly bad version where he was like threatened with nerve damage and ongoing problems with that. So can he actually get back to his best and get the mid time is the only thing that makes me hesitant about Butters at the moment.
Was that his knee, the nerve issues, or Achilles? I can't remember.
Oh,
I have a feeling it was knee.
Have I stuffed his
Did
injury? Did he get syndesmosis? It's syndesmosis.
he had both. He had a syndesmosis and a knee issue. Either way, it's that doesn't injury's injury, but yeah, that was concerning. He did have bad nerve damage, so that's a bit of a worry. So but
Yeah,
when
I couldn't feel my foot was his quote. Maybe he didn't have the Achilles and getting confused with someone else.
Probably Mills, maybe.
Mills
I don't
did have
know.
it. Yeah.
Mills and Gresham were the two Achilles, I think.
Yeah, so the forward line is quite fascinating. There's just you do like a wrist check of all these players, and there's like red boxes everywhere. And to be honest, the one with the least amount of red boxes would be Heaney, to be honest, which is pretty crazy. But probably says more about the others than it says about Isaac. But yeah, I think we speak about enough on Isaac. But we'll move on to the mid prices. So Cog 62%, highest owned in the game, along with Nick Dacos, Hollands 57%, Cam Rayner 24%, Gresham 23%. Rayner Gresham surprised me. I guess because they're, Rayner's number one pick, Gresham's pretty high talent. Saints need him badly. I did read today that he had ice on his hamstring or knee. That was just from a big footy post from a training watcher. So I can't exactly verify that, but I don't know why anyone would lie about that, but nonetheless, that's a little concerning. Plus, he's training with the forwards. I also missed one here. Charlie Curnow, 24% as well. So, I think Cogs, Hollands, lock them in. And then, any of these mid prices take your fancy, Or 200k plus.
I think I said it today to you boys, or in the Discord. There's a reason these guys are all mid 200s. They've all got a lot of issues, even Cogs. Like, there is a reason he's 260k. Obviously, he's the one with the most upside in history, so he's a no-brainer. But Rayner off an injury, Gresham off an injury, Kerner off an injury. All these guys have got some problems, and to me, they don't even have that great of roles on the horizon. Like, yeah, Rayner might be playing mid-time, but we haven't seen him do it much, and off an ACL, that scares me. Gresham the same. He just seems like he's just copping big injuries, every year now. Curno's the one I like the most, and that just feels horrific to say, but he is the one I like the most because he's had the longest run in at this stage. Maybe Rayner has, I guess, too. But yeah, I just think Curnow maybe has some upside. I know it's been said he might be like a Joey Danaher that makes some bulk cash in 6 rounds or so, and we flip him on. So he probably piques my interest the most, I would say, out of all these. But they don't really give you a lot of confidence, do they?
No. And how's Brisbane saying Rayner's dominating intra-clubs against the B side? They're taking the piss. Like,
Rayner is the biggest trap. That is, honestly, that is a bummy pick as well. That is a trap pick. Rayner cannot find the ball. He cannot find the ball. He's never been able to find the ball. And you think he's going to magically come off ACL and all of a sudden be like a 20 possession a game midfielder? It's just not happening. It's not happening.
What I will say is they say he's fully over his ACL and full training. And last year he was supposed to, take the next step. We didn't see it because of the ACL. So does he start where he left before he did his ACL? And yeah, I'm interested to watch him because 260, 270, whatever he is, I think it's 280 actually. It's a bit, but it's not a huge amount. So we'll see. I'm interested to watch him. I have no plans to fit him in at the moment, but I'm interested to watch him nonetheless. But yeah, I'm not convinced just yet. It's all talk at the moment.
If he wasn't draft pick 1 and he was draft pick 30, would we even be talking about him?
No.
Probably not.
But he's pick 1, so.
But he's not shown a single thing at AFL level since then to suggest that he was actually deserved of that pick 1.
Well, it's still early. Some players take longer. He's had endurance issues all his career.
He is
I
actually
think-
the other thing is like he was one of the ones that was talking about. Oh wait, maybe it wasn't. No, it was Rayner. I think like he's one that slimmed down like 2 consecutive seasons, like 4 kilos and another 3 kilos. So he has been working on some of that stuff.
Yeah, see how he goes. Interested to watch, but yeah, not overly keen. Oh, we've got one more name. I think Anna's written down. Will Brody at 12%.
I just had to put it there. I couldn't-
I am. One thing I read is he's doing really well in the clearances, and another thing I read Andy Brayshaw's got 20 clearances in a row against him, and another thing I read that he's on par with Sean Darcy in the running. I don't know. I'm
couldn't
interested
help
to watch
laugh
him.
when I heard that Sean Darcy one. Like, are you kidding me?
Like really, but do we need to spend any
guess
time
we'll
on
see.
Will Brody's?
No, we don't.
I guess I'll watch him.
Good job.
I'll watch him anyway, but it's just red flags left, right, and center with him.
What did
So-
someone in Discord wrote that? I think it was in Discord. They wrote that Will Brody was made to crash packs, not to spread them. And the problem is that AFL is going the way of you have to be able to spread. And he is someone that is how many years in the system now, and he's still finishing dead last in time
Yeah.
trials. I just cannot see him getting games reliably.
Yeah, it's VFL superstar vibes from him. Move on to the Rucks. Rucks are the most interesting they've been in a few years now. Grundy 37, Bruce 30%, Gawn 35, Darcy 29, and Wits 10%. I can see why people don't.
Bruce was 30%. Sorry, I didn't
That's
see
too
that.
high, yeah.
I didn't see that.
I mean, I think people are more interested in Bruce, less because of Bruce, but more because of Darcy's durability, Gawn's on the way down, not his fault, but just the way they set up with Jackson. And then Grundy's been like, thought he was going to get back to his best last year, didn't happen. Now it's going to happen again. Is it going to happen though? I don't know. Assume so. We all have Darcy, Bruce. No, sorry, Darcy, Grundy rather. It's just hard to justify Gawn at his price, but yeah, Bruce is a bit of a piss take. Just, I mean, how many times have we said it? Durability, job security, Leon Cameron, Ruck roulette, relying on a dodgy cover player.
Even if he gets
And-
named round 1, I don't place great odds he'll be there round 2. Either because he'll be dropped, or they'll change who it is, or he'll be injured. Like, it's just not a good pick. It's another bummy pick.
Yeah.
Because it's at R2 and R3, yeah, man, I did this with Naismith. It's not fun. If things go wrong, it's multiple trades to get out of it. You don't want to use multiple trades for this. So, but yeah,
It was fun
and
for
remember,
me, just for the record.
yeah, well, you have to remember with this is you need your R2 to hold it down until you get to Sean Darcy or Gawn or Grundy or whoever you don't start. And these players, like Gawn might come down in price. If you want Darcy will probably get out of control and hit 700. And then it's just in the hands of his durability. So it's... You're betting on timing. You're betting on Bruce as a pick. It's betting on... Yeah, if you have an R3, such as Max Lynch or... Combin. Hayes is probably not going to play unless Lysette's out. So... yeah, not much else to say, really. Eno, do you have any thoughts on the ruck line?
I was just going to say, that's like by far the biggest point. All these other mid prices that we talk about were like slightly speculative picks. They've all got people that you could swap out of. Like, say I start Rowell and he doesn't work out well, I can go to like Lipinski or Shiel or whoever. But if someone like Proust goes down, there is no one you swap to. So you're either stuck with a 0 or you have to get him to a premium that round, which means burning trades. It just is, the risk is not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Yep, I agree. Don't want to mess with that ruck line. You can tell us all how that's gone before, George. I just always want to set and forget. I know it's a different year. We've got more options, but that's good. I think you got to nail your selection from the get-go. And again, that's going to create more uniqueness in teams, which is awesome. That's what you want to say.
Yep. So we have a few questions here. So these, we have 3 from the Twitter, and then we'll bring up a few questions from the Discord. So first question is, what do you think is the best Primo starting lineup in terms of structure, so like 4 defenders, 5 mids, etc. I guess we're not going to know until we have confirmation on which rookies are playing. I think 3 to 4 defenders, 4 to 5 midfielders, 2 rucks, 2 forwards, I think, something like that. There's not really much to say. We need to wait, but I think it's more on the lighter side in the forward line, and then see how you go with the balance with the midfielders and defenders. Anything to add there? Probably not much.
Not too much, really. Obviously, the midfield is the place I think where you can cut down a mid and then spread it around. So that's the place you can probably, get some cash from. We don't like doing it, of course. We want as many big gun midfielders as we can, but yeah, we need to wait and see.
Yep. So thoughts on Lipinski? Can he break out at the Pies? I think he can. All I can remember is with 40 to 50% CBAs a few years back, he went in the low 80s. So raise that to 70, 80%. Why can't he score 95? But when you're 350k, you need to average like 100 to 105 basically. So the reward is not super high, unless you can think he can go more than that. But having a good preseason, has huge endurance, and should get the mid opportunity. So should have the role. But yeah, I guess midfield slots are pretty precious, so not one probably not one I'm considering, to be honest, but interested to see how he goes. But I think that'll do with Lipinski. So next question, who are some players you think that could get dual position during the season? JD, any players spring to mind that might get DPP, specifically in the forward line, or get forward status?
I think this is really hard to predict. The one that most people have talked about, I believe, is Fife, just because is one that's talked about getting more forward time, especially as they transition to a younger midfield. The only other thing I think would be interesting, I'm going to bring up the Bombers because why not, is that now that the midfield's returned this year, right, we've got everyone in. If they're still going to play Stringer in that midfield role, who's starting forward? Is it Shiel? Is it McGrath? Is it Caldwell? So I think like one of those is an interesting mid-price option that might get forward eligibility, but I would not be in the business of predicting premiums that are going to get forward eligibility. And for the record, I don't think someone like Bont is going to get it either.
Would you be surprised if I told you Fife had more than Mundy and Brayshaw last year?
CBAs, no. I'm well aware.
You probably looked at that.
It's one thing they talk about is him like moving out.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that Mundy and Brayshaw were below him, but it's close. But yeah, obviously the threshold is very, very close. So
and Sarong topped it.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on maybe some players are being managed. So I don't know how Matt Crouch can start off half forward, because I think he needs to start in the middle every time. But coming back from a groin, do they manage him a bit? It's like stuff like that with like what we saw with Josh Kelly. So see if any players get managed early. Bulldogs mids, who knows? We could get 5 Bulldogs mids in the forward line. You just never know. Could get one in the ruck. Bont R2, that would be pretty good.
What is it? Baz and I think Baz and Lockie Hunter are mids. Who knows? Could get bevoed, but the thing is they could get bevoed back, and I don't know. It's tough.
The only other one that comes to mind would be Zorko getting defence eligibility, because there's a lot of talk of him starting at half back, which would be pretty interesting if that happens.
I think he'll be either a forward or a defender, because already in like match sims, like he's not playing mid. I guess it's pre-season, but they want to use like Bailey and stuff through there now. So see how that goes. Maybe we get a few rucks at rest. Ryder and Marshall both fully fit at the start of the year. Maybe Ryder's Marshall can get forward status, just because like Ryder was out a fair bit last year. So that's probably why Marshall missed out. But yeah, hopefully we get a ruck forward. That'd be great. And then maybe a few mids. So see how we go. Now I think we'll bring up the Discord questions. Mm-hmm. So JD, are you able to open the thread?
Yep. It should be on screen now if you are looking at the broadcast. So yeah, we just posted like 2 minutes before we recorded. Whoever wanted to ask questions could, and we'll just Oh, I guess I'll just do quick fire with yourself and Eno to go through these as quick as we can. Try and get through as many as possible in the next 10 minutes. Let's try and cap this in an hour. So, George, firstly to you, thoughts on Matt Crouch now that he's back in full training?
No. Because, first of all, limited preseason. Second of all, you remember he was dropped a few years ago. I'm not saying that happens again. I know he's important, still an important player, but Keys can go elsewhere, but like Sloane's probably going to play mid again. I don't want him to. Laird has to play mid. They need to get time to Schonberg. And we drafted all these kids like Berry, a few new ones this year as well. So we need to... This is like too one-dimensional with him. But yeah, long story short, no.
All right, Eno, second question. Thoughts on not getting McRae or Lloyd when building a team? So you're missing out on the top scoring midfielder and defender from last year. Thoughts on this?
I know you do like this, that it doesn't always end up that way. These guys don't always back it up. I think McRae is one that can. Lloyd, I can see a world where he's not. There's a lot of good defender options, so I don't hate avoiding him. McRae is one I just really can't see myself going without, so... Yeah, I don't mind Lloyd not going without Lloyd, but both of them would be a bit of a risk.
All right, excellent. George, we're going to get a lot of midfielder questions, so I think I'll give both of you an opportunity to answer this at some point. But who to start in the midfield for Primos? Maybe you just want to share the 4 or 5 that you've got in your midfield at the moment.
Yeah, Steele, McRae, Took, Titch, Neil. And then at the moment, if rookies don't go the way I want them to go, Took will be cut into a defender. I don't want to cut Took though. It's a hard decision, but those are my 5.
Yeah, perfect. I think I've got the exact same 5 as you, but I've got Walsh instead of Took. All right, and the structure question we've already answered. Eno, which rookies have been impressing you in the preseason so far? Hit me with 3 names. And if you say Juan Francis, we're
Finn McRae.
Well, see, this is where I'm not across all this stuff as much as you two
All right.
guys. You read a lot more than me.
Throw it to George.
So throw it to George.
Throw it to George. George.
I like what I'm hearing from Erasmus. Mm-hmm. I loved him in this draft year. Has a good contested game, good overhead game, air game. Finn obviously improved this preseason. Throw Brody Kemp in your defence for now. I think he'll get opportunity. Impressed in his VFL numbers weren't super great, but I think he's going to get a decent role back there for Carlton. Was a very high talent. I think Nightmare had him top 5 or top 6 in his draft board. So can run and carry, can intercept, has a few good defensive traits. So I think we'll get a few 150k defender rookies. So Sin, Perez, Kemp. I think we'll get all 3. Good chance. So maybe you can chuck them down back.
All right, excellent. Thanks, George. Eno, out of McRae, Steele, Miller, and Oliver, which one of those are you cutting?
For me, it's Oliver. Thanks for that question.
No worries. George, back to you. A favourite of yours, of course, Mitch McGovern. What do you think about his new role? Is he going to be relevant in Supercoach for this year?
It's a tough one. His dribbling is pretty bad, and I remember when I was working at Coles, he used to always come in and buy Alan Snakes. So
don't get George started on players that don't diet right. That's an instant cut.
Well, his dribbling is atrocious. His work ethic is questionable. I suppose you always got to work hard to get the AFL level, but to be maker, it's another level of work ethic. So those are both very questionable. I guess
he
new
could have
role.
Just been buying him for the coach, right? The coach's box needs the Alan Ollies at the quarter time. You see him thinking maybe he's just a good kid for the coach.
Who knows? But yeah, no. I'm interested to see how he goes in the role, but chances I pick him are slim to 0.
Excellent. All right, we've touched on this one a little bit. So, Eno, Whitfield going to survive a season without getting injured. Does the risk outweigh the reward? How about this? Over or under 20 games this year for Whitfield? And if he's under 20 games, can you start him?
Get your crystal ball out.
Yeah, I know. I would say over. And even if it's under, I say, yeah, you still can. So, put it that way.
George, do you think it's time that the salary cap increased now that trades have increased to 35? This is a philosophical one. That's probably hard to answer on the fly, but let's get your take.
No.
That's a JD question. With all
Yeah,
the
that
study
is
you've
something
done?
I would spend too much time in a spreadsheet looking at. Yeah. So no, I like the fixed salary cap as well. I think moving it might not be best, but it's one of those things you need to sit down and think about. How do we use a trade boost? I think we've already talked about that a little bit. Should we be concerned at all with Darcy's light duty so far this preseason? I might throw that one to George again.
Yes, it's not good.
Who's your backup ruck option if Darcy doesn't get up? Is it gone? Or you look at Omac?
Diar's not a fan of Omac, which surprises me. I think it's probably Omac, but I guess probably Gorn. One of those two. Say Gorn, Max Gorn.
All right, and we're in for bang of a question here. Mid-price forwards, you got to rank them. So Kerno, Rioli, Cogs, Coleman, West, and Rayner.
I think that's Willie Rioli as well.
Yeah, it would be.
Oh yeah, you could do both Riolis, but yeah, let's do the West Coast one.
Yeah, Cogs, Kerno. Well, Cogs one. Kerno's the best of the rest for me. Coleman, I think, has the most potential out of the rest of those. And then West Coast players I'm not very intrigued by, and Rayner doesn't really pique my interest. I'll put Rayner ahead of the West Coast guys, but maybe West, but I'm really not too keen on West Coast players, to be honest.
George, do you agree with that? Is there anything you'd swap up?
I have Cogs and Kerno, and I'm thinking about Coleman.
Yep, perfect.
And then the rest, throw a blanket over them. I don't know.
Klopp asked a cracking question here around approach and strategies, but I think that'll be leaked as we go through these podcasts. Probably not good for a 1 minute answer. All right, Drunken Ninja 96 with Bows out for 3 to 4 months and Lakosh is playing forward, as we know so far. Could Will Power receive more kick-ins? But yeah, the bunch of stuff around the kick-ins there. So I don't know if this actually opens up. There you go. So you can see Will Powell had, 62% play on from 80 kick-ins, and then Bows had 70 kick-ins. So could we see Will Powell receive more kick-ins on the back of Bows being injured / moving into the midfield? And does that make him a good selection?
I don't even know what he looks like, to be honest. I can't help you.
Oh, come on. You know Willie Powell. He's got some dash to him. He averaged 82 last year in 22 games. So he was actually pretty good. I remember watching him because you made me get Bows in, so I was watching Gold Coast more than I bloody wanted to. But he's actually not too bad of a player. And if the kick-ins come, he could average in the 90s, but it's just like not.
What's his
someone you
role?
would consider. Yeah. He's like a dashing sort of halfback.
They
Takes
got
the
Weller
game
going back there. Okay. I don't know. And I don't know.
He's
enough about him to
446k
answer.
because of his actually pretty good year last year, so it's a bit much.
No disrespect to him, just don't know. Go on.
Yeah.
Nah.
So this next question is a joke question, I think, aimed at me from Sammy, who finished 3rd in the BBL, because I was bringing up Lockie Weller, like, hey, did you guys know he's moving to halfback? Apparently this is like really old news that everyone else knew. So yeah, thanks for that. All right, next question.
Sammy's he's an OG Weller owner. He had him 2 years ago in the
There
back
you
half
go.
of
So
2019 and actually did well. Anyway.
all right, so yeah, Will Power, we've answered that. What do you guys think Kerno will average? Both of you, let's get a number.
74.
75.
Oh, excellent. Is there someone you feel like could be a trap that everyone else is picking or considering?
Oh,
I
good
think we spoke
question.
about it. Well, for me, it's Sicily. I'm not to say full trap, but for me, it's someone that clearly a lot of people are picking that I'm not as keen on, to phrase it that way. I wouldn't say full trap, though.
Any of the 200k player not named Dacos that you're picking instead of Finn McRae.
Okay.
He has really good points per minute, by the way.
Who McRae?
Finn, yeah.
Yeah,
Really
in
good.
seconds.
It's probably jacked up by that 11-touch term.
Yeah, 12.
And then to throw out a different name, we saw in the defender stats, like Stewart has something like 17-80% pick rate. Liz Frank injuries are no joke. I would not be starting him. I feel like that's a trap starting pick. What do you think Coleman will average with Zorko at halfback? George, you've been considering him. What do you think?
Need to see how many kickouts he gets, because I think he got 1 or 2 in the finals, Coleman. So now Birchall's gone. Who gets them? They give it all to Rich. Starcevic take a few. Does Coleman take a few? I don't know. And I don't even know if Zorko is moving to halfback. There's nothing official. That was like a third-party source, whatever it's called. So I just answered, what will Coleman average? 79, 80. I don't know.
Eno, two of your favourites and one that you'll have a hard time answering, Walsh or Titch?
Walsh, because I trust him more. But Titch is still a good pick to me. But yeah, Walsh, if we're keeping it quick.
All right, Crisp or Ridley? Who do you have?
Ridley, easy.
Yeah, I say Ridley for me.
Chris got a new game plan going on, and yeah, they let him push up a lot into the midfield. I don't know if he's going to do that anymore. A lot of stuffing around with it. Did Collingwood under Harvey and Buckley. So, yeah, I like Ridley more.
So, Drunk Ninja on a Lipinski question. So, if he plays enough forward time to get that eligibility in round 6, could he be a top 6 forward for the year?
It depends what he averages. If he averages 95 plus, sure. If he doesn't, no.
I'm going to answer that. Based on what you said before about Lipinski, you said it would be difficult for him to get to 95, and that's probably what we need.
No. I think he will get to 95 if he gets 70-80% mid-time.
Okay, so then I guess your answer would be yes. But if he's getting 70-80% mid-time, he's not getting forward eligibility. So then, yep. So he's So probably the answer to that question is no. Any thoughts on the Ruck situation on not going Darcy and Grundy? I think we've covered that. Is it wise to run Ward at M8, or should I field Greg Clark? I feel like this is a George's question. You got strong views on this.
Oh well, all I'm saying is Greg Clark's waffle average was more than Ward's NAB league average. Like, what do you want me to say? Let's look at the numbers.
What will it take for you guys to consider Rowell M5, M6? Not much is the answer to that question. I'm already considering him. Thoughts on Rochelle?
Nothing. Oh, this is an interesting one. No. I was referring to the question above. No, Rochelle's an intriguing one. It's hard because he's going to play almost predominantly forward. I don't know if his fitness is up to scratch yet, but he's impressing. Kicked like 4 or 5 the other day in an intra-club. Doing all the right things, but realistically in a bottom team, I don't know how much he pushes up the ground or not. More you're marking forward than you're crumbing forward, so...
Hey,
it's going to be hard to justify that price.
Why can't Rochelle?
Yeah, it's true. I'm not sure. It's just like he's not going to score much, I don't think. So, I'm keen to watch him though.
Holy cow! Answering that Rowell he thinks could be a trap. So I think that's a ban or a kick. What are we going with? Crispy Supercoach, is Crisp a lock for any of you guys? I think the answer is no across the board there. Hammy, the player you want to pick but can't for whatever reason.
Ooh. For me, it's probably just one of the big mids that really, like Clary or
I don't know. Probably like Lipinski.
What was your answer, Eno?
Like Clary or something, and a bit of a cop-out answer, but like one of the big mids.
Just another midfield. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you.
Ridley was mine.
I'll tell you.
Can't fit him in.
An outside one, I'm not going to say Rao again, but Clark, now that he's at Freo, I really wanted him to be a defender and run that back and kind of get redemption for last year, or maybe even like a Young if his price was cheap enough, like 2 guys at Burmy, but not to be the case this year. All right. We're not answering more Lipinski questions, Ninja. I think it might be time to get off the Terps. What primo mids? We've answered that. Actually, Eno, you haven't revealed yours, have you? So who are you running in the midfield?
It was actually like a combination. I got Walsh like you, but no Titch or something. But it's McRae, Steele, Walsh, Neil, and 2. I think. So
excellent. All right.
Like
so you
mixture.
don't necessarily have to start them, but a player you're backing to break out this season. Well, let's go for a name that we haven't mentioned so far.
Don't know. Dan Rioli, maybe. Dan Rioli got kickouts in the last game, so maybe if he splits with the short, you got to give short more, surely. But if he can get, I think, 20%, if that can be lifted to 35-40%, we could see him push 90, because he went 85 without Hooley in the team. Plus, he gets preseason at halfback. That doesn't necessarily mean he'll improve, because that's what Bose did. He had a full preseason at halfback for the first time, and that happened last year. But nonetheless, Dan Rioli, I can see pushing in the 90s.
Okay, I was surprised by that.
Is he that bad?
No, I thought we were going another way. I get what you mean with the role and whatnot.
Okay.
That could be could be.
Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah.
That many people don't think he's a good player. Is my point.
Okay.
But maybe he can find himself back there. Yeah, I don't really have one JD on the top of my head. Do you?
There's like lots of second-year Port players I think you could pick, but I'm going to go for a homer pick. This is the year of Sammy Draper, the year of the mullet. He's going to break out to be that almost primo ruck level scoring into the 90s this year, as long as he stays fit and healthy. Shandy, good question here. What will you be doing differently this year compared to last? Is there one big thing in your mind, George Enno?
Many things I need to do differently. Need to hold my nerve on rookies. Let it go if you miss a rookie. And then, yeah.
Don't fall for Tex Walker. Too late. Nah, no meme picks. Yeah, I don't mind the rookies call. I think we should be able to get most of them this year. The only question is over how many games these kids have really played over the last couple of years is a big question mark, but yeah.
I think just quickly with rookies, you can kind of sort of figure out what they're going to average based on, I don't know, age, role. So, like, for example, I brought in Heath Chapman last year for 200k. Why? He's so young. Yeah, they had a few other defenders back there. So, yeah, like I think he started off with an 80 and a 90. He's not going to average 80 and 90 in his first year. So, yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, move on.
Just to answer this question, for me, it's around only picking preferably just one premium from a team, kind of max 2 to help with mitigating COVID risks this year. That's probably like the big thing that comes to mind. We've touched on this a little bit, but are there any real F2, F3 premium options, and how poor do the mid prices need to be for us not to select Dunkley as our only forward premium?
I mean, I only like Heaney.
Yeah, I think there's no obvious F2 primo option. I think we've got Dunkley as a standout, and then there's nothing obvious as an F2 or F3 to me at the moment as a real primo option. They're all speculative, with, I think, agreeing with George, like Heaney's the least of those at the moment.
Yep.
All right,
yeah, and then to be able to afford your third, to be able to, if you wanted to go 3, you have to give up M5 or D4. So. And we're paying up for rookies, so it's tough to fit more.
All right, so then 2 questions to go. So firstly, is this the year with potential COVID interruptions, the one that you can pick a couple more potentially injury-prone players than normal? E.g. the entire forward lines that we're picking at the moment.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it helps the Darcy and Whitfield pick a little bit. But I wouldn't be going Taylor Adams in the midfield, like probably a bad example, but like Luke Ryan defence because you want to pick him. Like, no, wouldn't do that to that extent. Only the ones like Whitfield and Darcy who have stupid upside. But yeah, still want to make a balanced team. Like I had Heaney before the rules changed, the extra trade, so yeah.
Yep, I still think it's going to be difficult to get to a full premium side, which means you don't want to be wasting too many trades on sideways. So we try and give those a miss. And then for Big J all day to finish off, tips on producing more content. I'll just give 2 here. So I think you can either find people that you enjoy producing content with, and that makes it a little bit fun, less of a job. And then secondly, just try and get yourself a schedule that you stick to throughout the year. And don't overcommit, because as soon as you overcommit, you burn out. But I think that's everything for tonight. Who shall I hand over to sign off?
Sure. Well, that was good. That was a good podcast. So go on, JD.
No, I should have just said thanks everyone that asked questions in the Discord, and if you want to be a part of it next time, then make sure you find us up the Fantasy Take TV Discord. Yeah. Also check out Facebook page. I'm putting different stuff on the Facebook page than Twitter and stuff like that, more in depth write-ups. So check it. Should be good. So Enno, JD, well, Enno, pleasure as always.
Yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is.
JD, also big pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for an hour of fun.
We'll do a few more of these. Lots to discuss. We need to discuss all the other lines in a bit more depth, and whatever else comes up. So, yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Check us out, and we'll see you next time.